What's up, guys? Welcome to another video. I am the Poetic Killer, and in today's video, we're going to be reading the poem Oral Tradition. So, you know the drill. We read the poem, analyze each line, and get the deeper meaning. Let's get to it. The ways of man is quite an interesting observation. Endurance of life requires a major amount of motivation. Experiences filled with mysterious sequences of events. Materialistic desires will never leave the soul contempt. The constant symphony of aligned synchronicities betrays the artistic reality of each manifested species. The internal and external represented by the higher and lower hemisphere. The trees give sanctuary while water rains from the heavens each year. A world of magic displayed for the eyes and perception to see the wonders of creation. Life begins when the vessel awakens, then ends when it's discarded. For knowledge and wisdom should not be forsaken, but protected and guarded. And that is oral tradition. Now let's analyze. The ways of man is quite an interesting observation. Endurance of life requires a major amount of motivation. So in the first line, when it says the ways of man is quite an interesting observation, it's talking about psychology. It's talking about, when you go to university and we learn about psychology and sociology and learning about just how society works, certain things that society like demographics, you know what I mean? Like you might have a certain age from age 1 to 13, they might be into certain things. Age 13 to 25, they might be into certain things. And once you find these groups and you analyze their characteristic traits, what they like, the things they dislike, each generation, each new generation, what they add to society and the culture and counterculture and things like that, it's very interesting, right? Like in music, let's give an example. It started off with, let's say, classical, then you got jazz, then you got rock and roll, then you got hip hop, then you got R&B. I mean, this is like an evolution of music, and it's very interesting. So when I say the ways of men is quite interesting, I'm not just talking about men. I mean, I'm talking about men and male and females. I mean, we've both contributed to the culture and contributed to society. So when you observe these things, you learn a lot just by observing people. You actually learn a lot and gain a lot of wisdom and knowledge. So sometimes it's good to sit back and just observe people. And when you observe people, you actually gain a lot of knowledge from that. So it's very important. And then it says endurance of life requires a major amount of motivation. So it's all about how motivated you are to do something. If something is very implanted into your mind and you have that force and that drive and that will to conquer whatever you want to conquer, you're going to achieve it, right? But if you don't have that motivation and that drive and you don't really believe in yourself or know in yourself that you can achieve this, then it's never going to go anywhere. So it always starts within. And then it says experiences filled with mysterious sequences of events. Materialistic desires will never leave the soul content. So when it says experiences filled with mysterious sequences of events, it's talking about the phys like let's break it down in science. You have matter and then you have antimatter, right? And scientists are still trying to discover antimatter. So what did they say is antimatter? They're saying things that is opposite of the physical reality. That's why when you get into astrophysics, you're talking about quantum physics, right? And quantum physics has to do with space and black holes and things like that. It's learning about the other side, the opposite side of the physical reality. That's what they're calling as antimatter. So matter has to do with atoms, like the physical reality, that the structure and fabric of the physical reality, and then antimatter is, antimatter is what they're trying to discover or learn about, which is the opposite side. So just like you know about the physical world, you know about the trees, the sun, the nature, and things like that. You also need to learn about your nature, which is a mystery. You know what I mean? That's why it's my story. Mystery is the same analogies, the same vibration there, because it's really telling you that to discover yourself, that's the mystery. You want to learn about yourself and your nature. And the more you learn about your nature and who you are, that's when you can connect to the outside natures and know who is more like-minded and who isn't. So that's what's talking about mysterious sequence of events. For everything in the physical world, there's also things that counter it with the mental world. You know what I mean? So the mental and the physical, are manifested in their own unique way, but they were both applied to the same program. And the program is what controls the physical and the metaphysical. And then it's talking about materialistic desires will never leave the soul content. Now, when I say that, I'm not necessarily bashing physical things because we're still in this physical reality. Remember, everything is duality. So, just like you have to take care of yourself internally, you also have to take care of yourself externally. So, when I say these things like materialistic desires will never leave the soul content, I'm not saying that you should just disregard your responsibilities and disregard things that you need us to achieve to make yourself comfortable in this physical world, right? That's very important also. I'm also talking about just internally. The physical world has to do with things that you can touch, feel, smell, and is attached to the five senses. And once you can achieve that, let's say like getting money, going to work, hustling, taking care of your business, that's taken care of in the physical world. Now you also have to do that within yourself, which is the internal world. You need money in the internal world, and money in the internal world is energy, right? Because there's a saying going that money makes the world go around. So what if money makes the world go around and money is what makes the world in an organized loop? What is the organized loop within you? Your energy. So money and energy is intertwined. Your energy is what makes your body go all around and travel, right? If you have energy, you're going to get up off this chair and walk around and do what you have to do. Just like if you have money, you can be able to go to different locations and get the necessarily physical things that you need to help you elevate and progress in your life each day. So it's very important that your values, whether it's money or your values, whether it's your energy and how you see yourself, are both aligned and are both intertwined. And that's when you're really whole. So that's what it's saying there. So the physical things won't necessarily fill the void within. You have to find those things within you to fill that void. And once you fill that void, that's when you'll be able to get the physical things also to fill that void also. It's a double tundra, it's a double loop. And then it says the constant symphony of aligned synchronicities portrays the artistic reality of each manifested species. So the constant symphony of aligned synchronicities is just the alignment of synchronicities, experiences. You know what I mean? So if I meet somebody at the shop, mentally, we're both in the same mental space. We both needed to get something out of a market to fulfill something that we need to do within our house, right? So mentally, in the mental world, we're both in the same frequency. And then it manifests into the vibration. Now we feel energized. Okay, we need to go to the shop. And then physically, it will manifest where we're actually there doing these things and experiencing it. And I might see other people buying food and buying groceries and things like that, just like I'm doing, because we're also aligned in the mental and in the physical world. So it's very important to know these things. Um, so that's what it has to do with aligned synchronicities. So what mental space are you in? What mental frequency are you in? If you're in the mental frequency of feeling like, okay, I cannot achieve, then that's what you're going to manifest. You're going to be in that vibration, and you're also going to be in that reality of other people that feel like that. But if you're in the frequency that I can achieve and nothing can stop me, sorry, nothing can stop me, then you also will be vibrationally manifested with those also people too that can achieve things. So it's very important to know where you're aligned internally and mentally. And then it says, yeah, it portrays the artistic reality of each manifested species. So yeah, the constant symphony of aligned synchronicities portrays the artistic reality of each manifested species. So that's what I'm talking about. We're all here experiencing, from the dogs to the snakes to the birds to the alligators and things like that. We're all experiencing things, and we're all experiencing our reality just based on our own species, based on our own vessels. The way I see out the outside world and reality is not the way a cat is going to see it. The spectrum and light that I see in this reality is not the way a dog is going to see it. They're going to see it in their own way because they have their own vessel. Just like you're going to see a perception of something because you have your own unique mind, and you can be standing next to somebody and they can look at the same thing and have their own unique perception and their own unique mind of the same thing we're both looking at. So that's the same thing with animals, also in other species. Yeah, we're all here together, but we're all seeing this reality in our own unique way. So it's very important to know that. We're not all just seeing things like in a human way, because I think humans sometimes think everyone thinks like them. But once you go out into the actual world and go out actually into nature, you'll realize that we're all here together, but we're all doing our own unique things. And it's up to you to find like minded people to be grouped up with. And then it says the internal and external represented by the higher and lower hemisphere. The trees give sanctuary while water rains from the heavens each year. So the internal and external, like your internal mind and your external mind, aka your physical body, is intertwined. Your internal nature and your physical nature, like the sun, the moon, the trees, the water, the rocks, is also intertwined with you. Like I said in my previous video, these things represent something within you. Like the water represents your emotions, the rock represents something that is solidified and materialistic. The air represents like your mind, just like your mind can travel from one space to another. That's the same thing with air. Um, the sun, you just have to act out the characteristics of these things, and then that's when these things will manifest in your life. So when you see the outside world, just play out the nature of it. And when you play out the nature of it, you start to get ideas and energies on ways to accomplish whatever you want to accomplish. So yeah, when it says the internal and external is represented by the higher and lower hemisphere, so like you have the saying as above, so below, as within, so without, right? So when it's talking about that, the internal and external is represented. Like the internal has to do with the higher hemisphere, and the external has to do with the lower hemisphere. So that's how they're both intertwined. And the trees give sanctuary while water rains from the heavens each year. So the trees give sanctuary. You can go under a tree and it can give sanctuary. And when it's time for you to leave that sanctuary, you can also be drenched in rain. So it's that double contundra, that double analogy where just like you can be able to find shade and find things to console in, there's also time for you to come outside and embrace things from the outside nature. I mean, it's all about finding that nice, perfect balance. And then it says, the world of magic displayed for the eye's perception, to see the wonders of creation. So the world of magic is displayed for the eye's perception. This is magic. This reality is magic. Sometimes you have to sit back, and it's very hard. Like, let's say if you have responsibilities, you got to go to work, you got to pay bills. It's hard for you to have time to sit back and just enjoy reality, enjoy nature, go outside, enjoy the sun, enjoy the moon, enjoy the silence, or enjoy the birds chirping and singing. What I mean? Just hearing the grasshoppers, during the nighttime, calling out to other grasshoppers, things like that, things like that. What I mean? I'm not saying that you have to be outside all the time, but when you go outside and you listen to these things, you're more intertwined. It gives your body life because you're more intertwined with nature. This is something we've been doing before we had TVs and houses and we're indoors all the time. We also had to be outside. What I mean? So you have to learn how to be balanced. I'm not saying that, there's no time to relax and sit down and watch TV, of course. But as long as you have that balance in your life, then you're good. And then it says, life begins when the vessel awakens, and then it ends when it's discarded. For knowledge and wisdom should not be forsaken, but protected and guarded. So life begins when the vessel awakens. So just like when you awake from your sleep, life begins. Your reality begins. All right, I got to do this. I got to do that. Right. It also begins when you come out of your mother's womb. You take your first breath. Your life begins. You know what I mean? You get your birth certificate. You get your name. You're crying. You want food. You want your mother's breast and things like that. So everything is connected. Just like you wake up, just like you're born, just like you go through death, just like you go to sleep. You know what I mean? So it's all part of the synchronization of life. And then it says, for knowledge and wisdom should not be forsaken, but protected and guarded. So knowledge and wisdom is the only way society will ever elevate. The day, or not even the day, the more we keep continuing to shut down knowledge and wisdom that can help society, the more society is going to get degraded. The more society is going to reach um, a place of not elevating. You know what I'm saying? So it's very important that we feed each other life, because the more we feed each other death, aka things that are not helping each other grow, things that are not helping us elevate, things that are not motivating us to reach our best self, things that are not helping us to reach the greatest perspective that we can reach, then we're always going to stay stagnant. And once a society stays stagnant, or once a species stays stagnant, then eventually they're going to be discarded by nature, because they're not synchronized with reality. They're not synchronized with the way nature is moving. You know what I'm saying? So it's very important to know these things and realize these things if we want to grow. You know what I mean? Just like you have a child, you're not going to feed your child a whole bunch of nonsense, because you know if you feed your child nonsense, then that's what they're going to manifest in their life. So if you have a child, you want to teach them the best version of themselves and allow them to grow, so that when they do grow, they can also contribute to society and also help elevate, because that's what it's all about, or else there is no point being here. You know what I mean? So it's very important to know these type of things. Knowledge and wisdom is very important. And when I say knowledge and wisdom, I don't mean reading books all day and learning things. Like, whatever works for you works for you. Whatever way you acquire knowledge and wisdom, whether it's being a mechanic, whether it's being a teacher, whether it's being a dancer, whatever knowledge and wisdom you have, it's our duty to spread that knowledge and wisdom so that we can help each other elevate. You know what I'm saying? Because we can't say in one breath that we complain how society is, but then in another breath, we don't want to help each other elevate. Then it's not going to work. You know what I mean? So teamwork makes the dream work. And that's very important. Um, so we really need to know these things. And yeah, guys, that's oral tradition. So it's very important to find your oral tradition. Oral has to do with the mental. So your tradition, the way you live your life, the way you work, the way you interact with other people, that's your oral tradition. And it's up to you to pass that on to others. You know what I mean? And whatever works for them, they can take those attributes from what you taught and your knowledge, and whatever doesn't work for them, they can let that go. And that's how it's meant to be. What works for you, and you can take that. And what doesn't work for you, that's okay. You just let it go and keep going. And that's what life is all about. So yeah, guys, that's oral tradition. Hope you guys gained something new from those poems. And until next time, guys, I'll catch you soon.